The following is a presentation of Studio Audrain, powered by the Mexico Ledger.
And welcome to another edition of Community Matters. We're here at Studio Audrain, the Mexico Ledger. I'm your host, Matt Pilger, and joining us today is the Superintendent of the Mexico School District, Dr. Troy Lentz, and thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me in.
Glad to have you here on summer vacation.
Yeah.
A couple of things are being discussed in Jefferson City. As a matter of fact, Governor Kehoe with an executive order that all of the public schools are going to get a grade card now.
We are.
A through F.
A through F.
And, I'm just kind of wondering about this. This is something new here in Missouri. So kind of tell us about the impact that this could have for the Mexico School District. How's this all going to work?
Yeah, we're not sure exactly how it's going to work. We know that we're going to have a grade card, and that's not new. I have in my hand right here the report card that our district currently has, and it's available on DESE's website. And in my mind, this is a good tool for parents to look at their school district because it has so much data, and you can see the dropout rate, the graduation rate. You can see discipline incidences. You can see MAP test scores, ACT test scores, and it compares the district to the state. And so I think it's a very, very transparent way, and parents can decide which aspect of that school is most important to them. Because there's going to be some parents where career and technical education might be more important to them than how many dual credit classes their kid takes, because not every kid's going to go to college. I think in some ways, and we'll have the report card. We'll all get A's, B's, C's, D's, F's, and we'll manage. And that will communicate some information to parents. But in my mind, trying to consolidate this down to one letter grade, all this data, it makes it a little bit less transparent to me, because there's going to be a lot of who weights this aspect most. There's differences between academic achievement and academic growth, and if you weight one, certain schools do better. If you weight the other, certain schools do better. And then I also think, even though you haven't asked about this, I do think it's appropriate to say that we're in an environment where private schools are receiving public dollars, $7,000 per kid. Meanwhile, in Mexico, we get about $4,500 per kid. And I understand there's an argument for let's have the dollars follow the student, fund the student, don't fund the system. There's logic to that, but maybe we should fund all students equally. Maybe public school kids should be worth as much as private school kids. And then also, you don't get this report card in a private school. So if it's truly good, if it's truly important for improving instruction, I think we would want that kind of transparency anywhere public dollars go.
Sure. Now, I'm still wondering a lot about this, and maybe you can help me out with it, because a lot of people are saying that this could oversimplify things, and then there's also the cost to it.
Yeah.
And people have estimated, I believe DESE has, that it's going to cost over $500,000 the first year just to implement,
right,
and then $750,000 or around there every year after to keep it up and going. Who pays for that?
Yeah. Taxpayers do, and it's another layer of bureaucracy. It grows government, and then also because we're in a tight budget system, it's going to come from someplace else. They said that they funded education evenly in 26-27 compared to 25-26. But I received our first state transmittal on Tuesday of this new fiscal year, and it's about $40,000 less than the year before. So where is the money going to come from? Is it going to come from money that's going to schools right now? I think it's a fair question to ask. I'm not saying that it doesn't have value, but how much value and at what cost? I think that's fair, and I just don't know.
Yeah, I know that we're trying to navigate through this whole thing together and figure it out, as well as the community. But DESE will put this grade up on their website. And when does this grade come out? Does it come out at the end of a school year, or at the beginning, or do we know any of that yet?
Yeah, I think probably the time that it would come out would be after we get our MAP scores back. Because we have a lot of transparency. There's a lot of data that parents can access. The APR usually comes out in October. So I would think that they could tie it in with that. But I think that brings up a whole host of questions about how much emphasis is this putting on standardized testing, because it's going to run mostly off of map test data. And so I don't think they can build it until that data is released.
Would you get a higher grade if you had, like, say, a Scholar Bowl team that was nationally ranked?
Yeah,
and maybe,
thank you, Matt.
You know, close to national championship status?
National championship status, yeah. I mean, I'm proud to be representing the Mexico academic team today. I've got my conference champ shirt on the back. It's the four-peat shirt. It's the back-to-back. Yeah, and you know, I've got a lot of friends who are superintendents, Matt, and they all have academic teams, but I don't have any friends that've got a four-peat shirt, you know. So, yeah, and how do you factor that in? How do you factor in? We're a school where we have a lot of kids that grow up in poverty here. Over 75% of our kids are on free and reduced lunch. And that makes a difference in test scores. It doesn't make a difference in learning. You know, people are a little uncomfortable talking about poverty sometimes. I think that's unfair to kids that are growing up in poverty. Kids that grow up in poverty can learn. They do learn at high levels. But trying to catch up with more affluent peers, it can be a tall task. But yeah, you know, in spite of our, you know, those challenges, Mexico Public Schools, great tradition in Quiz Bowl. We send kids to welding contests where they absolutely clean up. Send kids to Harvard. You know, there's a lot of things. Albert Einstein said that not everything that counts can be counted, you know?
Wow.
And I think there's a lot of things that count to our kids and our parents and our community that aren't going to show up on this grade card. And everybody understands that, you know. Not everybody's going to put the same degree of value on the grade card, even though it's important. But trying to boil all the activities of a school district down to one letter grade is it's going to be tricky. And if it comes out of Jeff City, it's going to be political. So there's going to be some winners and losers. So
Sure.
You know, I think on the test data, if you don't mind,
No, please.
I want people to know that I do my homework.
I
here.
know he does.
I think, you know, this is the 2025 statewide test results for all third graders in ELA. And if you look at it, there's about 41% of the kids were proficient in advance. And if you go back to 2022, 41% of the kids were proficient in advance. If you go back another 3 years,
And he's got the stuff.
41%.
Yep.
They're very, very conscious of the distribution of scores, and that within the construction of the test, there's a certain amount of norming that takes place, because if you don't norm it, there's going to be a lot of questions about validity. But the test is generally going to pull off the same results. If you were looking for a tool to say that half the schools are failing, you've got a pretty good tool. That's not the intention of the MAP test. The MAP test is there to improve instruction, but it's going to be used in ways that were unintended. And also, I don't think it's fair to say a kid that's basic failed. I think we're going to find out real soon that basic is grade level. And so if it's driven off of test results, we're always going to generally get the same thing. We also know, we got one more prop here.
Okay, let's do it.
So if you look at like who is scoring proficient in advance, this is from 2026, and it's for the students that fall into what they call student group, which is almost all students on free and reduced lunch. And so the proficiency rate there is 26%. That's much lower. So again, students on free and reduced lunch, students that come from poverty, they learn at high levels. There's a growth measure that DESE has, and the schools that do the best on the growth measures are the schools that serve the kids with the highest rates of poverty, because they come in behind, but they learn so much. So if you wanted to look at a teacher's effectiveness, maybe look at growth, not achievement. But the school districts that don't fare as well under growth are wealthier school districts, because the kids are already performing at a high level. So when you look at, you know, students who are on free and reduced lunch and that proficiency rate being almost half of what the rest of the rate is, and that happens every year. We've been doing this. George Bush brought us No Child Left Behind over 20 years ago. We know this repeats itself. And I'm not saying it's bad data to have, but we should just understand it a little bit, because the students who are on free and reduced lunch, students who live in poverty, they're not distributed evenly across the state. We have some school districts like ours they have, over 75%. You've got some school districts like our neighbors that are more like 15%. And really, every kid counts, and kids are more than a test score. And so when we start putting a greater emphasis on the test results, I think I just have to be careful, I believe. So I think the intention is probably good. The intention is to get more information in the parents' hands. But I think we should have a longer conversation about how that grade is calculated, because there's choices that they're made along the way. Just like everybody had a teacher in class where, growing up in school, where if they would have made this paper worth more or this test worth less, my grade would have been this. If they graded it the same way as the teacher down the hallway did, I would have had a higher grade. There's lots of choices. I encourage the public to tune into the conversation to find out exactly what makes their school have a certain letter grade, and whether they agree with it or not. Because at the end of the day, I think we should trust parents, and I think parents are going to know what's best for their kid.
Yeah, and I think this opens it up to more discussions as this comes along. As my dad used to tell me the night before grade cards came out, is there anything you want to tell me?
That's right.
So we'll have this discussion again, I'm sure, but I certainly appreciate you doing all the research and coming by today.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
All right, he is the superintendent of the Mexico School District, Dr. Troy Lentz. Our producer, Sky Kaufman. I'm Matt Pilger for Community Matters, Studio Audrain at the Mexico Ledger.